Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Aquí tienen el horario para hoy, viernes el 8 de noviembre. Our learning target for today to demonstrate mastery of both regular and irregular verb conjugations in the subjunctive with expressions of emotions. Because I'm not going to be here with you on this day, Friday, November 8th, I've elected to give you some enrichment practice with the subjunctive and expressions of emotion before we pivot back to this problems and solutions with the environment activity. So what I had asked you to do for Friday, or for today rather, just pause on that, and then we'll look at that together and wrap it up next week. And in the meantime, some practice with both regular and irregular verbs in the subjunctive specific to expressions of emotion. So let's get right to that. Your first thing, though, is your warm-up. ¿Cómo se dice? I hope you have a nice weekend in español. Use an expression of emotion. I hope would be espero que, and then have a nice weekend. The verb tener in the to form, in the subjunctive, tengas. Espero que tengas un buen fin de semana. Un buen fin de semana, a nice weekend. All right. Notes on the subjunctive, you can find these on the page 31. Here we are. And if you want, 30 and 31 rather, if you'd like a detailed description of how to go about formulating the subjunctive, a little bit of a review, I would invite you to watch the videos from the previous two classes as I go over that in great detail. The expressions used with the subjunctive there at the bottom of page 30. The inténtalo activity there at the bottom of page 31. All of that you can see in the daily agendas from Wednesday the 6th and Monday the 4th. I want to get right into this activity, though. This activity is what I'm asking you to do is review. Can we do a single page view? View. There we go. I don't know why that's showing up as 2. Anyway, no bother. We can take a look at activity 1 together. And by the way, for notes and a resource, if you're a little stuck on how to navigate this activity, page 14, and again in the videos that I created earlier this week, walking you through how to fundamentally create or formulate the subjunctive utilizing the present indicative in the yo form. Here are your AR, ER, and IR verbs in the subjunctive. You can see how they would conjugate for regular verbs. You can see how they would conjugate for irregular verbs like the verb tener, like how we saw in our warm-up. And then cargars are verbs, the spelling changes that take place there. And then irregular verbs, common ones, at the bottom of page 14. So page 14, a great page to have open as you're navigating this. For activity 1, pretty straightforward. Let me get out of this real quick. Hang on. Okay. How to conjugate these verbs in the form provided. I'll do a few with you. Yo de, D with an accent, or with an accent above the E rather. Tu estés, E-S-T-E-S, accent above the E. Él sea, S-E-A. Nosotros sepamos, S-E-P-A-M-O-S. Ellos vayan, V-A-Y-A-N. Again, page 14 would be very helpful. And I also shared with you how to utilize Spanish dictionary. If you're unsure how a verb would conjugate in the subjunctive, put that verb in the conjugation feature and then take a look. If you want to check your answers. A bit tedious to do for all of these, but maybe for some of these that might be a good idea, especially for verbs you may not recognize. Irregular, like saber, ser, estar, and dar, or stem changing, like the verb preferir, tener, mentir, entender, and almorzar. So that's activity 1, pretty easy. Just conjugate the verb provided according to the subject. Activity 2, complete the phrase with the correct form of the subjunctive. All of these beginning with expressions of emotion. There aren't going to be any examples where the verb is simply left in the subjunctive, because for all of these examples we have subject in the main clause, and an expression of emotion is used in the main clause. Que, for all of these, dividing the main clause and the subordinate clause, and then a subordinate clause with a different subject, and the verb in the subjunctive accordingly. I'll do the first 5 with you. Yo duro que tú hagas, H-A-G-A-S, la tarea. Es dudoso que yo sea, S-E-A, buen estudiante. ¿No crees que él esté, E-S-T-E, esté, en la escuela hoy? Ella no piensa que nosotros hablemos por teléfono. And then number 5, nosotros no estamos seguros de que ellos den los regalos. That is activity 2. Activity 3 is to correct the errors. All the phrases must use the subjunctive. Write correct, however, if the phrase is indeed correct. Correct the errors, rewrite the sentence correctly using the subjunctive. If the statement is correct altogether, just simply write correcto in the line provided. Yo deseo que tú haces la tarea. Well, that would be similar to this one, needing the subjunctive there. And this example does not have the subjunctive. This is present tense. Yo deseo que tú hagas, H-A-G-A-S, la tarea. ¿Tú estás contento de que yo salga a tiempo? This is the verb salir in the yo form, in the subjunctive. This is totally fine. Correcto. ¿Es necesario que nosotros dormimos? This is present indicative. This is similar to number 1. This needs to be in the subjunctive. Dormir in the yo form. Duermo. Excuse me. Not in the nosotros form, though. In the nosotros form, there's no stem change, so it would be in the subjunctive. Dormamos. Dormamos. A-M-O-S for a subjunctive ending. I'll do one more with you. Nosotros pedimos que ellos caminan al parque. Caminan is the verb caminar in the present. To change it to the subjunctive, caminan would be caminen. And then finally, number 4, a bit tricky. Please don't just plug these into Google Translate. Look up keywords that you may not know. For example, eyes or true. But a lot of these are using the phrases that we have either earlier in the activity or on page 30 at the very bottom in the textbook, Expressions of Emotion. It's not true that I have 3 eyes. Translate that into Spanish. No es cierto or no es verdad. No es cierto. No es verdad. Either one of those two. No es cierto que yo tenga. Right? The verb tener in the subjunctive. No es cierto que yo tenga 3 ojos. Do your best with this. That's all I ask. Just play with it and see how well you're able to do it. I'm not sure you understand. I'm not sure. No estoy seguro or no estoy segura que tú entiendas. No estoy seguro que tú entiendas. Or entiendan, if that's you plural. Ustedes. Number 3, you don't think that they lie. Tú no crees que ellos mientan, the verb mentir, used earlier in this activity. Tú no crees que ellos mientan. And then one more we'll do together, number 4. He doesn't believe that we tell the truth. Él no cree que nosotros digamos la verdad. Digamos. D-I-G-A-M-O-S. Nosotros digamos la verdad.